You had an item like that? A free building? How overpowered is that? Myriad Arrows shouted. It is what it is. I gave it to you, and you just didn't see what I handed to you. Jake smiled. This is fine. You already had the building specifications ready for this? Since when? We were in the forest for 5 days. Surely, you had the specifications ready before this. Myriad Arrows asked. Indeed. I just had to buy a larger plot so that the stables could be fit in. So we will have the stables on one side, the building on the other, and a nice training field in the middle along with nice gardens to top it all off. We don't want the building to look like a corporate office, do we? This is the headquarters of the guild that wants to change the world. The guild that plans to head an alliance of so many big corporations. We also need to make a statement with this building. Jake said. Fine then. Let us get going. I really want to see this building. And now that it is so big, I hope I finally get my own office. Myriad Arrows looked at Jake expectantly. Your own office? What are you going to do with your own office? You should have told me that before I submitted the request. Jake shook his head. What? I am the guild co-leader. I can't keep standing next to you like I am your assistant. Myriad Arrows protested. Jake snickered as he shook his head. You are joking with me, right? You are joking. I have my own office, right? Myriad Arrows asked. Let us get going. Once you are inside, you will see. Jake said. Fine. Myriad Arrows sighed. They left the city hall, Myriad Arrows sullen, and Jake skipping with expectations. Behind them, dozens of players were just shocked still. After a while, they got out of their stupor. I heard them correctly, right? Did the receptionist just say that they paid 10,000 gold coins? One of them said. Those two. Aren't they from Bright Horizon? Are they getting their new headquarters? That was what they were talking about, right? Another added. We have to see this. If it were that simple, there wouldn't be a sequel. Chapter 141 Advantages of the New Headquarters. When Jake and Myriad Arrows went through the streets, walking toward the gates where their new headquarters was supposed to lie, they could see it. Along with the thousands of people who were looking up in the skies, they also saw it. Even from a distance from the city gates, they could see a giant sign. It was not like a neon sign that felt cheap and attention-grabbing. This was a simple sign that only had 2 words. Bright Horizon. And that was enough to make a message. This was not a hype train. This was a guild that was here to stay. As they kept walking, they could see the building that the sign was placed on. The giant building that would have cost tens of thousands of gold coins, but instead, cost nothing. It was old-fashioned. Like a castle, but not quite. A castle would be taller, larger, and much more majestic. This was more like the Duke's mansion. But one thing was certain. It was not an ordinary building. When Jake and Myriad Arrows got to the building itself, there were a few who were peering in, some who even dared to enter the place and look around the gardens of the building. None entered the building yet, for it was locked. Locked until its owner would come to the place. Jake frowned as he looked at all of these people who were trespassing all of these people. He needed to take care of them. After this is done, I need to go to the Adventurers Guild. Jake said. What for? We have enough stuff to handle as it is. Why would you want to take up a quest? Myriad Arrows asked, shaking his head. You all truly underestimate the power of the Adventurers Guild. Taking up quests to gain a little experience and a little money is just one of the things you can do there. As a matter of fact, it is one of the more useless features. Jake said, shaking his head. The rare class that you wanted to get, that was a good use of the guild. But more importantly, you can hire people there. You can hire guards, you can hire taming masters, and I intend to do both. Jake said. You have to hire a taming master. Myriad Arrows was shocked and kind of surprised. Normal taming classes are of the epic class at the least. How do you expect me to find one? Jake chuckled. I am not omnipotent. I don't know where every epic class is. Jake said, rolling his eyes. Both of them made their way through the crowd, pushing just to enter what was theirs. Once he was inside the gates that were now open, Jake coldly looked at everyone in the open fields. Don't you people have better places to be at? We only accept new entries at the store. Go there if you wish to be a part of the guild. And now, whoever stays here is officially trespassing. Jake shouted. Everyone took one look at him and knew who it was. They quickly left the place. No one wanted to offend the guild master of the fastest growing guild in the world. Finally having some peace and quiet, Jake took a deep breath as he looked up. Ah, how wonderful it looks. Until the end of the year, This should be the most magnificent and exorbitant headquarters you will ever lay your eyes upon. Jake said, "This is quite big. If a building like this were in real life, then it would easily be worth over $100 million. Why the hell did you want to get a building this big?" Myriad Arrows asked. Once you designate something officially as guild headquarters, it becomes guild property. The owner of the guild technically still owns the building, but now, the guild has say over what happens to the building. Jake started as he walked over to the main doors of the building. They were large and majestic, with engravings all over the handles and the borders. And a guild headquarters has certain advantages. As you know, our guild is still at level 1. And at level 1, the guild headquarters has the most basic feature. It can restore fatigue by 5%. Jake tapped on the door, and it brightly lit up before clicking open. 5% might not seem like a lot, but once you enter, you will understand. Jake said, smiling. He took the first step into the guild headquarters and took one deep breath. It felt like the oxygen supply in the place was as much as in a casino. It felt refreshing, and he could feel his mind get clearer. How they managed to do this is beyond me. It is like they are pumping my brain with drugs. Jake said as he took another deep breath. This place was kind of addicting. What is this place? This is like magic. I feel so energized. Myriad Arrows exclaimed as he stepped in this place. You see? And this is benefit number 1 of having guild headquarters. The second one is buffs. If you spend an hour here, you get a 5% buff on all of your stats for 1 hour. Staying 2 hours will not give you 2 hours worth of buffs though, so that is quite unfortunate. Jake said, we can get a buff. And I suppose the buff increases as the guild level increases? Myriad Arrows asked. Jake nodded as he looked at the giant hall that greeted him. When the permit told him that he had a 5-story building to get for free, and there were no restrictions, he went overboard. Each story was much larger than any other normal building's floor. That included the hall that greeted the people that arrived, that went up 3 normal stories in height. There must be another benefit of the guild. What is it? Myriad Arrows asked. That, you can heal faster, much faster than normal. Jake said. Chapter 142 Moving in. All guild members. We have officially opened the new guild headquarters. Move into the guild headquarters for an official briefing. Everyone in Bright Horizon saw the message. But the message only told them what they already knew. Word spreads like wildfire. Before Jake told his guild members, everyone from the guild already heard from their friends, from their family, and from talk on the street. Bright Horizon had a new guild headquarters. And everyone was psyched to take a look. No one could wait. So when the message came, everyone was ready. Ironically, Jake didn't even have to tell everyone where the guild headquarters were located. They knew. Everyone knew. Jake gave the message and maybe 10 minutes later, a crowd was forming within the field in front of the massive building that the guild was about to call home. Jake saw many familiar faces, but the majority of the people he had never seen in his life. This was what was going to happen when he opened up guild registration to everyone. Jake started listing down what the headquarters entailed. He told everyone the benefits that they would get by staying inside HQ. Alright. So now that you understand that a good headquarters is important, now you have to learn how to maximize your potential using this place. Jake raised his voice. Until now, this was just stuff that mattered to analysts. The percentage increases, and the HP recovery, all of these were for the purists who spoke numbers. But now, he had to make sure that everyone understood what they had to do. From now on, if you are going to grind, leave from the guild headquarters. You don't need to spend an hour here wasting time and doing nothing if you are going to go grind. But if we are going to prepare for a war, for a raid, or for the expeditions, everyone is mandated to spend an hour here to increase your stats for that 1 hour. And also, after a raid is finished, or after your grinding session is over, coming to the guild HQ will let you recover faster. This will make you more efficient and will help you more than you know. I need all of you to increase your levels as fast as you possibly can. We are in a time crunch. We need to get stronger. Jake said. The response was frightening. Everyone roared as they agreed with what Jake said. Good. Now then, some of you may have seen the new additions to the store. There are a few new epic items there. Some of them are weapons, and some of them are support items. Regardless, they are going to be a good addition to someone's roster. Jake said as he swept his gaze throughout the crowd. So then, who wants them? There was nervous shuffling. What was going on? This was an epic item. Who would just ask that question? It was obvious, wasn't it? Everyone wanted it. No one? That is disappointing. I thought that all the effort I made to get them was for good use. To think that everyone in my guild wouldn't even want it. We want it. One person roared. Jake smiled as he looked at the person courageous enough to speak. Where do you guys think you are? Do you think that we are in those guild-controlled my companies, families, and only give the items to their friends? This is not that. In Bright Horizon, any one of you can get an epic item. Jake shouted. He then glanced at Myriad Arrows and nodded. Myriad Arrows stepped up and took Jake's place. All right. From next week onward, all of you will be introduced to the guild contribution system. You may have seen that the prices on the epic items were not clear. There was no denomination, and even if someone came with the money, they were turned away. That is because these epic items aren't for the general public. Why would we give it to them, when we can instead give it to you guys? These are meant for the select few among our guild who can prove themselves. Now then, all of you will soon get a message detailing how you can earn points. It is simple really. If you submit the proceedings from your grinding sessions here, and if you contribute really well in raids, then you can get contribution points. But there is one more way to get these points, and it is by completing special missions. Myriad Arrows said. The best way to get the epic item in my opinion is increasing your tier ranking. The first 5 people to get to tier 2 will get 500 contribution points. And as for the rest, none of you are still eligible to enter the contribution system. Only tier 2 players are allowed to buy from the store with contribution points. Myriad Arrows announced. The moment he said this, the excitement that was built up till not died. Tier 2? That was an achievement that not even rankers got to. Even the strongest rankers were stuck in the first tier, trying to level up and get to tier 2. How could they be expected to do that? As I thought, all of you are thinking, how can we get to tier 2? But do you not understand? This is not the end line. You are all under the impression that you need to get the epic item tomorrow. Who is going to steal it from you? Your friends? Does that mean that you are so confident that they will get to tier 2 before you will? Jake shouted. Everyone looked at him, understanding what he was saying. You have 1 month. 1 month to understand what tier 2 is, and how to get there. So prepare, get stronger, and when the time comes, you can finish the tier upgrade quest. Chapter 143 In the Stables. Jake approached the stables, which was in a secluded part of the land that was his. There were guards around the stables, ensuring that no one without permission would be allowed to enter. Jake nodded at one of the guards, and kept walking into the place. Baron, welcome. An old man greeted him. Beastmaster Moran, how are things going? Have you gotten them to start incubating? Jake asked. Things are going spectacularly. I have never seen these specimens before, but they are interesting. They don't need another parent to incubate. They automatically incubate as long as they are put in the right temperatures. Beastmaster Moran said. And how long will it take for the eggs to hatch? Jake asked. You gave me 3 different types of eggs, Baron. One of them will take around a month. The second variety, it should take a month and 12 days. But the last tone, the big one, it is a little different. Beastmaster Moran hesitated for a moment. Jake felt his heart tighten. Is there something wrong with the egg? It can hatch, right? Jake asked. The problem isn't the incubation, Baron. The problem comes with the gestation period. According to my connection with the beast inside, I can feel that it will take a lot of time for the beast to grow. How long? Give it to me straight. Jake asked. 1 year. And that is a conservative estimate. Jake looked at him blankly. A year? A year? That was so much time. But the time a year passed, the expedition to the Western world would be over. Calm down, Jake. There is a lot of stuff that can be done even after the Western world is found. Jake told himself. He looked at the 6 different nests that were created. Each of them had their own egg. Out of the 10 spots that a basic guild could have, 6 were taken up by the most terrifying creatures that a guild could possibly have. Jake nodded at the Beastmaster. You have done well, Beastmaster. Please take a look and see if you can hasten the incubation speed. Jake said. I can only do that if I rank up, Baron. But I do have to ask, where did you get this terrifying egg? I have worked with a beast that was as terrifying as the first 5 that you have brought me, but one look at the larger egg and I know that at its peak, it can cross even the 6th tier. No, at its peak, it can become much stronger. Beastmaster Moran shuddered as he spoke about it. I know, Beastmaster. If this monster becomes even half of what its parent was, I will be completely satisfied. The lineage that this monster comes from is terrifying. It is a powerful beast, that is its destiny. Jake nodded. There was a reason that he gave up a level for this. Fine. I will see if there is any way that I can get a better beast master to help you out. But I will rely on you to get all of these other eggs hatched on time. And after they hatch, how long will it take for them to reach Tier 3? Jake asked. Tier 3? That will take some time. But sensing their power as they hatch, they will probably be at the peak of the first tier when they are children. But it will take some time for them to develop important features, like their armor. Moran said. I am aware. Jake was able to kill the younglings in the dinosaurs' cave that day because they were asleep and they had no health, no defense, and even a simple attack could kill them. It will take another month for them to reach Tier 2, and as for Tier 3, it will depend on what supplements you can give them. Beastmaster Moran said. Supplements. That is going to cost me quite the bit, isn't it? Jake smiled bitterly. That was the problem with raising beasts. It was freaking expensive. Only rich people could afford to foster beast tamers and beasts. They were black holes for resources. Jake knew that this was the first and last time that he would actively pursue beasts of such caliber. All right. This is going wonderfully, Beastmaster. I will leave this place for you. This is all yours now. If you have any problems or need anything, please tell me. And if there are any items that can haste the incubation process, then please do tell me. I will try and pursue them. Jake asked. If you want an item that can hasten the incubation process, no. That is just a legend. Beastmaster Moran shook his head and dismissed the thought before even talking about. But he already had Jake piqued. What is just a legend, Beastmaster? What is this item? Jake asked. These are just rumors that have circulated among Beastmasters for decades, Baron. We just tell this story to new Beastmasters to keep them on their toes. Beastmaster Moran started. Just listening to this, Jake understood something. This feels like a quest that is supposed to go to a beast taming class. Feels like a cheat for someone to tell me this story. He thought inside. The first Beastmaster, Norton of the Legends, was rumored to have become a Beastmaster because of a blessing from the god of nature. The god of nature blessed the progenitor with a cradle that could accommodate any beast, and it would grow like no other, incubate like no other. Moran said. This is a legendary item, no doubt. Jake said. No, Baron. Please do not underestimate what this is. This is no legendary item. This is a divine item, the power of the gods vested in it. Chapter 144 Divine Quest. A divine item. A divine item never surfaced in Jake's past life. Not once did anyone get as close as Jake did. Jake had one of the 3 pieces of a divine item, and he was perhaps the closest that anyone ever got to a divine weapon. As for the other 2 pieces, only because Jake knew where they were, did Jake have the chance to assemble the weapon. But even then, Jake knew that the path to get this divine weapon would be tough. He would have to battle through a lot of adversity to get to the other pieces of the weapon. And now, he was listening to a story about some divine cradle here that could help him save a year of time. He was interested, but not to the point where he would spend all of his time looking for it. He knew that if he did look for the cradle, it would be a black hole of time and money, and he wasn't even guaranteed any returns. It wouldn't be worth it. Rumor has it that the god of nature reclaimed the divine cradle once the Beastmaster Norton passed away. And now, the cradle is hidden in one of the many temples of God. Only those who have passed the god's tests will claim the cradle for his own. Wait, a person has to pass the tests to get the cradle? I can give up then. This is just for the beast tamers, not for me. Jake shook his head. It was a good story, Beastmaster, but I have things to take care of now. Maybe I will meet you another Tim Dash. Treasure Hunt Quest, Find the Divine Cradle. Quest Difficulty SSS. Quest Time Limit None. Reward Divine Cradle. Penalty None. Except Y/N. A quest? I am actually going to get a quest from this. Jake was shocked. No harm. I am not going to get a penalty or anything. He shrugged as he accepted the quest. You have gained a list of the temples of the god of nature. Visit them all to have a chance to retrieve the divine cradle. Jake chuckled as he did not even attempt to take a look at the map that appeared in his inventory. He knew that the number of temples for the god of nature numbered not in the thousands, but in the tens of thousands. This was a whole world after all. The eastern and western world both worshipped the same gods, and there were many temples between the 2 of them. To have a chance to get this divine cradle, one would have to take a look at every single one of these temples, and he would have to pass a test in each one. If he gave a generous day for every temple, or even 2 temples in a single day, it would still take decades for him to finish the quest. At the least, he knew exactly where the other two parts of the trident was. He knew where he needed to go and how strong he would have to be. Thank you once again. Jake nodded at the Beastmaster and left the stables. The guards to the side nodded at the Baron and moved aside to let Jake pass. So this was where you were. I was looking for you. You just left after riling up all of those people. Myriad Arrows exclaimed as he approached Jake. What happened then? Did people start working toward the goal? For the next few weeks, we will not be actively pursuing raids and dungeons. This is a time of growth. Jake asked. Well, some left. Some made groups and started grinding together. As for the others, they are all still in the planning phase. Myriad Arrows said. And did Kirch come here? Was he here? Nope. He didn't bother showing up. Myriad Arrows shook his head. Don't focus on that too much. Did you find a company that offers the contribution points system? It should be pretty common in the Vermeerpage space. You shouldn't try and do this all on your own. Outsource it. Don't worry, man. I found the system. All I have to do is implement it and the guild will have its own system for checking contribution, including your contribution. Myriad Arrows chuckled. Sure. I will see how you will count the contribution of that Gajira egg. How much do you think that should be? Jake smirked. Fine. I am not going to get into this fight with you. I entered a few prices, and told them all to search for blueprints in particular, because you asked for it. Myriad Arrows confirmed once again. Yes, I need the blueprints. A blueprint for a rare grade named set should be worth 500 points. 2 of them and you can get your very own epic item. Jake nodded. Just how valuable are they, for you to invest so much into the blueprints? You and grandfather both, you just run after these blueprints. Myriad Arrows shook his head and sighed. Well, that doesn't matter. Since you found the system and implemented it, you shouldn't care about the guild for a bit. You may be strong, but the next trial that you face is going to be a tough one. You are an epic class holder. Your tier ascension is going to be tough. Jake warned. I know. There are few accounts to what the tier upgrade quest even is. I have no idea what awaits me. Myriad Arrows sighed. Well then, focus on doing that. Let us see which one of us gets to the second tier first. Jake smiled. Why not try for number 1 in the world? Myriad Arrows chuckled. You underestimate the world too much. How big do you think the stage is? Normal classes can level up easily, and they also have easier tier ascension quests. By now, there must be hundreds if not thousands of people in the second tier. Jake shook his head. Chapter 145 Tier Ascension, Part 1. Welcome back, Baron. A young woman smiled at Jake. I am here to deposit a few things. Jake said. As you wish. Please, follow me. The woman nodded as she took him to a private room through the busy corridors. Jake looked through the NPC-filled corridors of Reich Bank. He was back for a simple reason. What do you wish to deposit? The woman asked as they entered the room. Pretty much everything that I have. Jake said as he started taking out things that he had bought over the weeks. Rare items, gold, the priest's necklace, the ring of luck, and a few epic materials. He put down everything down except for his armor, sword, and his boots. He considered putting his boots down as well, but at the end, he decided not to. We will make sure that all of your items will be safe until you collect them. The woman smiled. I can see that I am pretty poor now. Just a few thousand coins barely available. Jake sighed, shaking his head. He turned around and left the room. Right now, he was pretty sparse. The only thing he had was boots, items that he couldn't drop, and a bank card that no one else could use. He was now ready for the next stage. Jake walked past the crowded streets and got to the Adventurers Guild. It was a simple tavern, adorned by a simple wooden sign that had the words, Adventurers Guild furnished in yellow letters on its brushed surface. The sign was small, nothing too bright, and yet, it was completely crowded. There was not a single table empty as far as Jake could see from where he was standing. Although the Adventurers Guild was called a guild, it was not a place that a player could just join. It was a haven for mercenaries like Kirch of his previous life. For people with no affiliations, the Adventurers Guild offered missions that anyone could do. Taking them up was free, and the penalties for not completing them were not harsh at all. As for the rewards, they changed based on how difficult the mission was. The more the risk, the more the reward. A guild like this wasn't operated by players, obviously. For something like this, one needed a huge foundation. No corporation had a stronghold enough to establish something like this. This was an NPC establishment that aligned itself with one entity that was above all kingdoms, the Adventurers Company. The main branch was in the capital of the Uriel Empire, and if Jake wanted to visit it a few days ago, maybe he would have. There were branches of the Adventurers Guild in every city. Every city. This was the standard. A city was not considered a city if it didn't have an Adventurers Guild within. That was the effect of the Adventurers Guild. Jake took one step into the tavern and he could hear the coarse shouts and laughter of the NPCs within. They were what one would expect in a tavern. Bearded and bald, burly, black-haired, husky, rough-mouthed, and with rotten teeth, gorging down meat and mead. All of them took one look at the scrawny-looking boy that arrived and went back to their food the next minute. Why would they need to care for someone like that? But a second later, they stopped eating. They turned back a second time. A noble. Jake chuckled as he walked to the side. The bar was separate from the Adventurers Guild's main business. As he walked, all the eyes followed him. They wouldn't give this level of supervision to any other newbie that came through these doors. But this one was different. This one was a noble. Jake stopped at the receptionist's desk. He tapped on the desk as he looked at the beautifully crafted piece of art in front of him. The receptionist had eyes that drew him in like no other. It seemed like an inevitable thing. Only the most beautiful of women were made the hostesses of bars. Only the most delicate creatures would house these coarse breeds that came through the doors. "Baron, how may I help you?" the receptionist asked in the most captivatingly sweet voice. He smiled as he nodded at her. "No need for formalities. You can all go back to what you were doing. I would feel quite uncomfortable not hearing all of the sound that this place should have. What is an Adventurers Guild without the sound of laughter and cheers all round?" Jake chuckled as he looked at the men who were staring back at him. A large man stepped up, a big jug of mead in his hands. He had only a curled mustache that extended from his nose a few inches wider than his face. He stepped up to Jake. "This noble, we found a good one." His mouth cracked wide open as he thrust the jug of mead into Jake's hands. "Come, let us drink to a good noble for once." The man roared. "Why not?" Jake nodded as he brought the jug to his lips, letting the cold brew drip into his mouth gulp by gulp. "You have been intoxicated. Stats will decrease for 10 minutes. You have been intoxicated. Stats will decrease for 10 minutes. Jake put the jug down. "As much as I would enjoy letting myself go for one night and drink till the day ends, today is not that day. I must disappoint you all. I have some work to do." Jake sighed as he turned to look at the receptionist. "You seem to have hit it off a little with the men." The woman gave a nice smile. "Ah, you might see that a lot from people like me." Jake smiled. He wasn't lying. As someone with a lot of karma, NPCs would inherently like him. "So why is someone like you here? You shouldn't have a problem with money. Are you here to post a quest yourself?" the woman asked. "I am here to try to ascend. I wish to start my tier ascension trial." Chapter 146 Tier Ascension, Part 2. Oh. The receptionist raised her eyebrows and took another glance at Jake before looking back down. "You wish to take the tier ascension trial, do you? You must be a noble blessed by God, to be immortal. After all, to take a tier ascension trial in these dangerous times, it is nothing but a death wish." The receptionist shook her head and sighed. "Wait, what?" Jake wasn't expecting this as the receptionist's response. For anyone else, this wouldn't be the response. Back when he had that rare class that he struggled to get, he got a fairly difficult trial that he was barely able to complete. And that time, the receptionist said that the trial was easy and that there was nothing to be worried about. Yet now, she was saying something about dangerous times? Did the entire future change because of what Jake had done so far? No, some of these responses were predetermined. This definitely had something to do with Jake's unique case. This was something to do with his legendary class. What happened? What is my tier ascension trial? Jake asked. For someone who walks on the path of sin like you do, it is a wonder that the gods approve of you. But that makes your case a little special. Even though you are of the sin, you must battle your own kind. You must travel west to the evil lands. In the evil lands, there is a rock that taints the holy grounds of Saint Esther. If you are able to retrieve the devilish rock and purify the lands, then the gods will approve of your ascension. The receptionist said. The evil lands? Now. Jake asked to confirm. This was way too difficult. To ask him to go somewhere that only tier 3 players could go, and to retrieve a tainted item from there was like asking him to go die. The evil lands were not just one kingdom. According to the main storyline, the evil land started in the cursed kingdom of Antilia, and then spread to the surrounding kingdoms. Dozens of them fell before the world acted and forced it to stay where it was. The evil lands were lands that were infected by a miasma that made the beasts within different. They were stronger, fiercer, and loved to indulge themselves in tainted items. And for a tainted item to be able to taint a saint's ground, it was sure to be something far too strong for Jake to handle. And something like that would attract monsters from hundreds of kilometers to where he was, that was for sure. That was why I warned you against it. The woman sighed. Ping. Jake got the request for the quest that he needed to take. Tier Ascension Quest, retrieve the tainted rock from the holy grounds of St. Esther. Quest difficulty S. Time limit 7 days. Reward, Ascension to Tier 2. Penalty, none. Except, Y/N. Do keep in mind that if you refuse this quest now, or if you take it and are unable to clear it, the adventuring gods state that you are not allowed to take the quest again for a month. The woman said, damn it. Now you are just forcing my hand. Jake cursed as he accepted the quest. If he didn't, then he would have to wait a whole month. How shameful would it be for the guild leader to be one of the later ascenders? Jake's words would be undermined, and he wouldn't be able to show his face. No. The difficult of the quest is just S. There must be a reason that it is easier than the one that I have been in before. There must be an easy way to do this. Jake thought to himself. Well, what are you waiting for? The caravan will leave soon. Don't you want to go? The woman nudged at him. Caravan? What caravan? Jake asked, confused. Did you think that we would put such an important case in your hands alone? You will have help. The woman chuckled, her laughter like an angel's breath, saving Jake's tightening heart. Thank God. I am going to have help? You should have said this before. Jake smiled. Where is the caravan going to be? He asked. The caravan is at the city gates, waiting to depart. Go there as fast as you can. And as for the location of the holy grounds, they have been given to you. The woman said. Thank you so much. Jake nodded as he darted out of the tavern. He couldn't dally any longer. If that caravan left before he got there, then he was absolutely screwed. Getting to the inner parts of the evil lands was one of the toughest things to do. Even with an entire guild, fighting through all those beasts and getting to a safe spot where they could rest was difficult. It was only possible if one had a priest in the party, and a good priest that could use the skill, Blessing of the Divine. That skill was the only thing that made beasts retreat a little. Jake zipped through the streets and he could see the gates soon enough. Sure enough, there was a caravan at the city gates, ready to depart. And the caravan was pretty long. There were a lot of mercenaries within this tight group. From where he was, he could see that there were a few in the second tier, and some in the third, but no one above that. His face fell instantly. This caravan wasn't what he expected. And there were a few items to be transported on the caravan. Who would bring something to the evil lands? He stopped in front of the caravan, panting. I am joining. Please, wait a minute. I am supposed to be a part of the caravan. Jake said, catching his breath. Who the hell are you, boy? What are you doing, blocking the way? The leader of the caravan stepped up, frowning. But his face changed soon after. Forgive us, Baron, for not recognizing you. The leader respectfully said. The caravan is going to the evil lands, is it not? I need to get there with you as well. Jake said, straightening his clothes. The evil lands? We aren't going there. We are going to the Jasmine Kingdom. The caravan that you are supposed to catch left about 3 minutes ago. Chapter 147. Chasing after them. They left. Jake froze for a moment. Yes, Baron. They are on the western road, so they went left of here. Since they are a large crowd, surely they couldn't have gotten far. The leader tried to be helpful, but the damage was done. Jake missed the caravan. He had to catch up as fast as he could. He put his sword in his inventory and dashed forward. He was already a little exhausted, but he ran through the pain of his lungs screaming. He dashed outside the city gates and looked to the left. There was a long dirt road there, then went up and then down. From where he was, in the distance, he could see a long line of men and horses moving slowly to the west. That was the caravan that he probably had to catch. You have got to be kidding me. This is definitely a catch of the quest. The caravan is programmed to move right after I accept the quest so that I will miss it with certainty. Jake thought to himself. He ran after the caravan, jogging this time so that he wouldn't lose all of his stamina in one sprint. The pace he was running in was faster than whatever pace the caravan was using. After all, they had a long journey about them, and they wouldn't waste all of their energy running and jogging. A long-distance caravan would walk so that they could get to the destination as energetic as when they first started. as Jake's boots kicked up the dust high as he continued running toward the caravan. They had just left his field of view, and if they changed directions, he would only have one option, meeting them at the holy grounds. But that was going to be impossible for Jake. Meeting them at the holy grounds? He would have to battle through the strongest of monsters and maybe, he would get halfway there without dying. Even then, his death would be confirmed because there was no way that he could face any of the monsters in the depth. The caravan was his only way of getting there. If he missed it here, he would have to wait another month for the next tier ascension. Just why do legendary classes have it this tough? Jake cursed as he kept jogging. To the side, he could hear the bushes ruffling. He was outside the city now, and he was going into the wild. That meant that there were monsters everywhere and he had to be prepared. The only reason that he wasn't wielding his sword in his hands was that he would be faster without the sword in his hands. As for the armor, it even increased his speed, so why wouldn't he use it? PSK. He heard a low-pitched sound to the side from the bushes. Jake stopped for a moment, his sword appearing in his hands. He took one look at the small monster in front of him. To call it a monster now was an exaggeration. This was a monster that he was able to defeat when he was in level 1, let alone now. It was a fox. Its crimson stripes that ran along it showed that it was a Loveel Empire's speciality. But the stats were simple. It was just a normal fox that barked up the wrong tree. The sword of misery appeared in his hands as he struck the fox. One strike was all it took. The fox fell on the ground, and its loot fell on the ground. Jake didn't even bend down to pick up the loot. What would he do with the loot of a fox? He needed to catch the caravan first, and that was just going to waste his time. He started running after the caravan once again, leaving the leather of the fox behind, and the little loot that it may have dropped. If any player came across it, they would get some free loot, but even for them, it wasn't anything to be jumping with joy over. The experience that the fox gave was so little that it didn't even make a dent on Jake's experience bar. As Jake picked up his pace, he could see the caravan once again in the horizon. They were all there, and he seemed to be getting closer to them. I swear to God, if this mission has some stupid feature that makes me chase after them until we reach the evil lands, I will kill someone. Jake cursed as he continued running. The trip to the evil lands was a long one. Even as he was jogging at a healthy rate, it would take him half a day to get there, and that was an underestimation. As for the caravan, with so many people, there was no doubt that it would take a whole day RO2 to get there and a day to come back. That gave them only 3 or 4 days to work on the quest itself. Jake knew that it wasn't as simple as going there and retrieving the rock. If getting to the evil lands was one struggle, staying there was a bigger struggle. As they approached the evil lands, the monsters would get stronger and stronger. And if they stayed in the holy grounds, stronger monsters would come to go against them. Maybe I should have dished out a few gold coins to buy a return scroll. I didn't have a day even to make the preparations, goddammit. I should have through about this before I went to the guild. I thought that I would get some time to prepare. Jake cursed at himself. If it were that simple, there wouldn't be a sequel. Chapter 148 Catching Up. An hour later, he still had the caravan in sights. He wasn't there yet, but he was close. Close enough to shout at them. Stop, please, stop. He shouted until his voice became hoarse, and after that, he would stop shouting and continue running toward the caravan. He hoped that one of the caravan members would notice him and would stop the caravan for him, but it was all to no avail. He was still too far away. Luckily, the fox was the only monster that was stupid enough to attack him. As soon as he came within a certain distance of the caravan, no monster dared to approach him. After all, there was a caravan full of people next to him. Soon, Jake took a deep breath and he started sprinting. At this stage, he really wanted to catch up to them. He was close enough to start sprinting at them. It was a funny sight to see. Someone clad in armor that didn't look that great, and he was sprinting, his arms moving side to side considering he was already pretty exhausted. But it was a sight that caught attention. Jake could see that some people in the caravan who were in charge of the lookout saw a man running toward them. He shouted once again, his voice too hoarse for it to sound like the 20-year-old man that he was, and the way he ran made him look like an old man. And surely, an old man running toward them in the wild was reason enough to stop. The tallest of the bunch raised his right hand with his fist clenched. The moment he did, chain of command worked its wonders and the caravan stopped moving. Jake smiled as he stopped sprinting like a madman and started stumbling toward them like a drunken idiot. Someone from the caravan approached him as well, to help him up. Jake stopped midway and took out some water that he was wise enough to store. Taking a swig of the cool water, He took a few seconds to restore his breath, trying to suppress the fire that was burning his lungs inside out. And then, dignifying himself and looking like the noble that he was, he started walking normally and approached the man who came to help him out. Seeing the sudden change in this old man that they came to help, the man who came stopped and looked confused. He wasn't expecting a young man, and that threw him off guard. Now, he was suspicious of the intentions of this stranger that was coming toward the caravan. "Who are you? State your affiliation and your purpose," the man called out. Jake smiled bitterly as he stopped moving. "I am Baron Shadow, King of the Loveville Empire, tasked with supporting this caravan in ridding the holy lands of Saint Esther of the devilish rock that tainted it," Jake said, biting his lips. "If the goddamn caravan is the wrong one, I might as well give up now. The entire game is basically telling me not to go on this mission if they say that this is the wrong caravan." Jake thought inside. He was praying to God that this was the real caravan that he was supposed to be a part of. "Oh, you are a baron. Forgive me for not noticing, but we have not received any information that a baron would be joining us." The man frowned. "Please, let us confirm with the leader of the caravan. You must be mistaken. I was told by the Adventurers Guild that I had to join this caravan." Jake asked again. "That is what I intend to do. Please, come with me." The man nodded as they slowly walked to the caravan that was still a little distance away. They got to the caravan, which had dozens of people. One look was all it took for Jake to know how strong everyone was. There were many that he couldn't see the levels for. That meant that they were more than 50 levels higher than he was. And each one of them was at the least in the 3rd tier, with many of them in the 4th tier. But Jake had no doubt that the leader of this strong group of people was in the 5th tier. Only someone so strong could control so many unpredictable people. Once they got to the caravan, Jake sighed with relief. He finally caught up to the caravan after an hour of running. They walked through the long line of adventurers and got to the very front. A taller man stood there, big and noble-like, with a thin mustache and eyes like that of a wolf. He looked at Jake and smiled. "It seems that the Baron who was supposed to show up actually chased us all the way here. When you didn't show, I thought that you wouldn't come at all. To think that you would chase us on foot all the way here." The leader smiled. "I was given the mission and immediately you guys left. How was I to catch up to you?" Jake asked. "Forgive us. We thought that you weren't going to show, as many nobles stand us up. In missions like these, we aren't supposed to say, but nobles add their names to the rosters but never show. And after the mission is over, they claim credit." The leader sighed. "You do not have to worry. Although I may be the weakest here, I will certainly pull my weight around here." Jake said. "I certainly hope you will." The leader nodded. Chapter 149 Father Joseph. The caravan moved at a slow speed compared to what Jake had to go through, so he took the time to look around and learn about everyone in the caravan. He saw that there were many men here, but the female population was not that small either. Among there were priestesses, swordswomen, paladins, and a few mages. The diversity was notable, but the most important of them were the priestesses. They were going to make the difference between victory and defeat in the adventure that they had undertook. Jake made conversation with the friendliest-looking woman of the bunch, an NPC named Annie, a priestess who was in the 4th tier. "You know, you are the first polite noble that I have ever talked to. All the other nobles have that arrogance that makes them look at us commoners with disdain," Annie said, smiling. "You jest, Sister Annie. I am as common as you are. A disciple of God is far more important than a mere baron." Jake smiled, shaking his head. This was the person he would have to rely on in the evil lands. "So, for what reason did you undertake this behemoth task of coming to the evil lands? I don't mean to offend you, but you are far too weak to be coming to the evil lands," Annie said. "There is no offense in what you said, only the truth," Jake said, shaking his head. "I am here on the command of the adventuring gods. This is the trial that they have chosen for me in exchange for my ascension." Jake said. "Your ascension? What sins have you committed in the past for your ascension to be so difficult?" Annie took a step back. She clearly knew something that Jake didn't about how the ascension trials were given. "No sins. I have done nothing but what was right." Jake shook his head. "Maybe the gods thought that my trial had to be made more difficult than anything else because I am a special case," Jake postulated. "That may be the case. I can sense that the God of Light has shown his divine brilliance on you. In that, you are certainly a unique case. I have never seen someone who has been blessed by the divine, and yet punished in the same way." Annie shook her head. "This is too depressing to talk about. I have already been through enough in this trial. Best not talk about those circumstances. Jake smiled bitterly. He didn't want to be reminded of his terrible luck regarding the tier ascension quest. That does make sense. Why talk about something so misfortunate indeed? Annie nodded. So then, I must ask, as this has been clawing at me since I came here, who is the respected senior within the carriage? For someone to be in the carriage, and with a tier 5 magical swordsman leading the way, that senior must be exceptionally gifted or powerful. Jake asked. Oh, you just came here, didn't you? You don't know the particulars of the quest. That is Father Joseph. He is the high priest of the Temple of the God of Light in the Ankara region. He came here for this quest. Annie said. The high priest? Of the Ankara region no less? That must mean that he is of the 6th tier. That is indeed the case. Whoever wants the holy grounds purified has invested a lot into the manpower. Annie nodded. Saint Esther was a legendary existence during the Golden Age. When he lived, the evil lands didn't dare cast their eye on the Jinnah kingdoms. The moment his holy ground fell and when he met his unfortunate demise, terrible things happened to the alliance, and 5 kingdoms fell. Annie said, shaking her head. Jake was piqued by this story. This was the first time that he was hearing of this. A new storyline that he had never heard before. Then could Saint Esther be? He is someone who took the title of saint. And someone who took that title has to be someone above the 8th tier. Annie nodded. Someone in the 8th tier also fell. Just what evils lie inside the evil lands? Jake shivered. He knew exactly how impossible it was to get to the tiers higher than the 6th tier. After the 6th tier, each tier ascension was impossibly difficult. And never minding that, getting to the next levels was also too difficult. Jake could think of only a few names off the top of his head who actually got to the 8th and 9th tier. And as for the 10th tier, the legendary Peak of Gaia, not a single player ever got there. For that was the realm of gods, a realm that no player could touch, at least in Jake's past life. For someone in the 8th tier to die to have an unfortunate demise, it could only mean that there was someone strong enough to fell someone close to the power of a god. Do not fret, young baron. Although no one knows the particulars of what happened that day, there are no existences within the holy grounds higher than the 4th tier. And for those who are going to be attracted to the tainted grounds, we have an artifact that should help us out a little. Annie smiled. Annie. And scratchy, hoarse sound came from the carriage that was a few meters forward. Father. Annie looked up at carriage, her posture becoming erect. You have told the young guest enough. The trees and bushes have ears. Best not speak about some things. Father Joseph said from within the carriage. Forgive me for this offense, Father. Annie said hastily. Do not worry. It is a mistake that anyone would make. Just remember everyone. We entered the enemy's eye the moment we left the city. And the moment that we leave the kingdom's border and officially enter the evil lands, silence should be best observed. Chapter 150 Entering the Evil Lands. Father Joseph's words rang true as they continued the rest of their journey in silence. They were still in the Loville Empire, but what Father Joseph said got to them. Luckily, Jake had asked about the teammates on this caravan before he asked about the more forbidden stuff. So, he knew what he was working with. Although a pity that he couldn't talk more and understand more about the people he was with, he had a basic understanding of this party that never worked together before. First was the duo. The duo in the very front, right behind the leader. They were twins. 2 sisters off the coast of Felon, swordswomen of the 3rd tier, who together, were able to even match a 4th tier according to Annie. And a few more swordsmen who were from the neighboring kingdom of Dorian. Along with them, came a few mages from the same kingdom but never met each other. The rest of the party came from different directions, all from various corners of the world, collected here to come for the same purpose. Unfortunately for him, that purpose wasn't clear to Jake, and he couldn't talk about it anymore. He wanted to know exactly what did the organizer of this party offer to these people, to convince so many experts to come to such a dangerous place. While Jake was thinking back to what his team was, the caravan was slowly progressing to the edge of the kingdom. There were few sentries to the side, held by guards of the Loville Empire. They were strategically placed higher down the road, placed higher up so that any traveler would be at their mercy. For what reason do you come here? This is a dangerous land that you are crossing to. The guards shouted. We are from the Adventurers Guild. We have in our company many priests and priestesses that wish to enter the evil lands and force them back. The leader stated as he took out a piece of parchment proving their quest. But the guards didn't take a look. So it is you, Swordmaster Ganshin. I didn't recognize you in the glaring sun. So your latest adventure will take you to the evil lands, is it? I can't wait for you to return so that I can hear of your conquests. The guard smiled. You are too flattering. I can only hope that this works out for the best. The caravan slowly moved forward, the guards proving to be a help rather than a hindrance. There are evil beasts of the first rank there, and they might be led by a member of the second rank. I advise you to be careful. One of the guards said. I thank you for this information. We will be prepared. The leader, Ganshin, nodded. He then looked back at everyone in the caravan. Weapons out. From now on, we are no longer going to be within the walls of the Loville Empire. This is going to be the start of the evil lands, and only danger can be found here. He shouted. But his words were just a formality. Everyone already had their weapons unsheathed. Priestesses held books, mages held staffs, and the others held their weapons. Jake gripped the sword of misery as he looked forward with determination. Even though the quest was simple, he had to contribute a little to see rewards a little more than usual. As they walked through the forest path, they saw a giant arch made of stone. The arch was filled with cracks of old age, and looked like it was on the edge of falling apart. For an exit to an entire empire, this was certainly lackluster. But why would the empire invest into this land, where no travelers would come through? And the other side of the arch wasn't exactly a guest. No one wanted to welcome someone from the evil lands. The moment that they stepped into the evil lands, it was like the light from the sun suddenly shriveled away. Jake could feel this chill out of nowhere. This chill was different from normal. It wasn't the nice cool breeze that Jake felt until a few minutes ago. This was the chill of the cold harsh winter. The evil lands was in a state of continuous winter, and as they would progress into the evil lands, they would eventually see snow and ice that would hamper their movement. The evil lands were not kind to newcomers and foreigners, with many obstacles trying to stop them from progressing in. Ganshin raised his hand, fist clenched. He then took the first step, taking a sweep of the surrounding trees. They were on a path that had lower ground than the forest around them. Any enemy that wanted to ambush them would be able to do that with ease. So they had to be especially careful. Do not worry, Swordmaster. If there is a group that tries to ambush us, the gods will tell us. I will be able to sense their vileness from miles away. The nearest group is 2 miles in. Father Joseph said from inside his carriage. Jake could hear the struggle that Father Joseph had just to talk. He was weak, and that was apparent. Now weak power-wise, but weak physically. He was struggling to breath, and his words had a certain difficulty to them. Just hearing him, Jake understood that Father Joseph was riding on the carriage not because of his arrogance or superiority to the others, but by necessity. He probably wasn't strong enough to walk on his own even if he wanted to. Thank you, Father. I will be sure to keep it in mind. 2 miles down the road we are embarking? Yes. The story ends here. Thank you for listening.